Here we have Luke and Isaiah of GS Luke DFS Sports and Nokkensportsnews, bringing you guys our podcast here for the Shriners Open Championship. We're going to be talking the course for this week, some of the skill sets that we expect to succeed here at TPC Summerlin, as well as some of our players that we have our eyes on going into this week. So first of all, I want to say hi, welcome you guys to the podcast. I'm Luke here, GS Luke DFS, and over there we have Isaiah.
What's up, guys? I'm Isaiah. I run the Nokkensportsnews page on Instagram, and we have a YouTube channel as well. How are you doing, Luke?
Doing pretty solid, excited for this week. We have the Sanderson Farms going on right now, which it's Sunday, so we don't know who the winner is going to be. Pretty interesting leaderboard, though. We have a ton of guys up there at the top. We have Thigala at 18 under, guys like Cameron Chingale, Denny McCarthy, Sam Burns, Cameron Young, all just a shot back, and a bunch of guys at 16 or 15 under as well. And at this Birdie Fest, we don't even know what's going to happen, right? We could have somebody come back from like 6-7 shots back, post a score. Could be one of those studs up top. What do you think?
There's a lot of young Corn Ferry players on the tour for sure. So that's good to see, like you said, and it's going to be a close one. So we'll see who can get the win.
I personally have Sam Burns. He was my pick before the week. He's only one shot back, and he doesn't have to play in that final group, so he's not going to have that pressure. Who do you got?
I got Cameron Chingale.
Okay, I like it. Little birdie maker right there, and I think he's at 17 under as well. So
yeah, he's at 17 under.
Cool. So I like that a lot. In terms of some of the guys that kind of underperformed this week, if you guys have seen my YouTube channel, you guys know I do a lot of DFS picks, that sort of thing. But definitely overestimated JT Poston a little bit. I know Isaiah over here loves JT Poston as well. It's actually gotten to meet him and whatnot, but I ended up a little bit higher on him than I should have been this week. Same thing with Seamus Power. But like you mentioned, all those Corn Ferry Tour guys are just absolutely outstanding, right? Out there playing some really good golf. Maybe it's the format of this event. It's a little bit of a birdie fest, and that's kind of what they're used to on that tour, but really good to see it either way. So what do you think about who's your favorite Corn Ferry Tour guy up there right now?
He's not very high up there, but last year, like Steven Yeager was pretty good.
Yep. I think he won like 4 times or something crazy like that.
Yeah, he had a crazy year, so I really like him, and I think this is like a good start up for him, and he'll do pretty good in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. They're calling him like the mini Webb Simpson, so that's a pretty good comparison to have there.
Yeah. You can get compared to him.
Yeah, have you seen some of the putts he was making at the Sanderson? It's just nuts.
Crazy.
Good stuff. So what I'm going to do is quickly explain the format for this podcast here. We're going to start off with our course breakdown, and then we're going to finish it up with our skill set for success at TPC Summerlin. So I'm going to give you all the details, all the nuts and bolts going into this week, whether it's statistical wise, whether it's just talking about some of the headlines for this week. I'm just going to get you prepared for this golf tournament. We're also going to talk about some of the players that we expect to do well. So some of the guys you might want to look at in a fantasy sense as well. Speaking of fantasy golf, though, me and Isaiah actually have a fantasy contest that we started. Yep. We're going to be doing it every week, kind of going forward, kind of tracking our results as well. I'm getting my butt kicked right now. I'll admit it right off the bat. So it's 109 points to 81. So Isaiah, I'll let you take the mic here and talk about how you're kicking my butt.
Well, 109 to 81, I didn't think that would happen. Will Zalatoris, everyone saw that. 35 points in, I think it was round 2 or 3.
He shot 13. He shot 61. Like, wow.
Yeah. That's his record. And that's the reason I'm at 109. We had most of the same players picked.
You had Sam Burns as well, right?
Yep. You can't see like who they picked before the tournament, but I think I was gonna go with Corey Connors, and I didn't play him round 1, but I'm glad I played him the rest. So
yeah, he's having a really good tournament. We both picked JT Poston. Both obviously got burned a little bit there. Looks like we both picked Keith Mitchell as well, which again also both got us a little bit. But you did an amazing job, obviously, with Corey Connors, Will Zalatoris, and Sam Burns. You have 2 of them in the top 10 right there. Obviously, I believe Corey Connors in the top 20 as well. So very solid right there. On my end of the spectrum, I also had Sam Burns. Had everyone else miss the cut except for Vito Pereira, though. So could definitely improve upon that. Definitely going to try to do better next week. But I like the fantasy golf format. If you guys haven't seen it on pga4.com, definitely recommend that you guys take a look at it. It's a lot of fun. It's a little bit different than most of the other fantasy formats as well.
I put it on my story to let people know that you should try it out. And Mito Pereira actually saw it.
So, really? Oh, that's sick. Wow.
Yeah, I tagged because I wanted to tag all the people that were on both of our teams, and I was like, hey, if you see it, and he saw it. So
that's cool.
It's pretty cool.
I react to a lot of his stories. Like he'll post like his tea time or something. I'll just put like the fire emoji. He likes them every once in a while.
Oh yeah.
So like
that's cool.
This Corn Ferry Tour guys, not only are they so good, it's like they don't have such a following yet where they act too big. Like, you know, they're willing to interact with fans and stuff. So I like that too. It's pretty cool. Let's go over it. So let's talk about our socials here a little bit before we hop into the breakdown. I do a primary portion of my work on YouTube. So that is at GS Luke DFS. If you guys look me up there, I post a lot of content for golf. I do a lot of NFL stuff as well. Actually, have a live stream I'm doing here on Sunday. We're shooting Sunday morning. After we hop off this, I'm hopping onto a live stream for that. So constantly posting content there. A lot of it is fantasy football based as well. And I know, Isaiah, you have your page as well, if you want to tell them about it.
Yeah, so we do more than golf, and we do all the sports. We have highlights, news, breaking news, and all that stuff. And yeah, we just keep you guys updated, try to post one day a week, or that's once great. A day, my bad.
And what's your handle again?
Nokkensportsnews.
Absolutely. In my opinion, one of the best follows that you can have on Instagram. I mean, you get some of the best content from every single sport. I like every post you put up, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, I like your DFS picks as well. So
absolutely appreciate it, man. So what we're gonna do now is let's hop into a little bit of a course breakdown. So I don't have the winner down here. Do you remember who won last year at Summerlin off the top of your head?
I'm pretty sure it was Martin Laird.
Martin Laird. Yeah, it was. I knew it was like 23 under par. There was a playoff. Yeah, it was Austin Cook and Matthew Wolff in that playoff. Okay, I remember that now. And that was a really good event, actually. Martin Laird, he hadn't won for quite some time, ended up coming through. So that was good to see. And I know in 2019, just because I remember watching on TV, Kevin Knobb, the hometown guy, ended up taking it down at that same score. So I would say this is a relatively easy golf course. We're playing at TPC Summerlin this week, and is in Las Vegas, Nevada, or not really Las Vegas. It is over in Summerlin, which is the town right next to Las Vegas, if you guys have been there before. It's a par 72. We got 7,255 yards on the official scorecard for this week. And it is a Bobby Weed design. And Isaiah, when I mentioned TPC Summerlin, what is like the first thing that comes to your mind? Because, you know, we see it kind of year in and year out. It's one of the fixtures on the tour at this point.
Yeah, I think the elevation is a big part of it.
Okay,
yeah. You get a 2.32% distance boost, which is about a 6-yard gain on your shots. So,
oh wow. Okay. Yep. And if you've ever played at elevation, like you always want to stay there when you're a golfer, because you're like, if I hit you drives, 300 yards, you start driving them 310, getting a lot of extra rollout and whatnot. You feel so short when you go back to Florida or something like that. So yeah, dude, the elevation. Yeah, I agree there. I wasn't thinking about that at first, but that's definitely something that's going to play a huge factor this week. Something that's also a little bit different about this golf course, I'd say, would be the grass types. So here at TPC Summerlin, we have bent grass greens, which is very typical for this part of the country. But where the madness starts to come in is with the fairways in the rough. They have Bermuda grass rough, which is not something that we usually find there on the West Coast, particularly in a desert climate. I mean, Bermuda grass is Florida native grass of Bermuda, of the island, right? So for them to have it out there in the desert, that shows just how much money they put into this golf course, how much money they have to put into making sure it's watered properly, make sure it's manicured. So it's interesting. I mean, Bermuda grass rough, extremely hard to hit out of. We don't find it at this part of the country at all. And these bent grass greens are firm and fast. I'll mention a little bit about the weather. I go out to Vegas quite a bit. And at this time of the year, it's between 75 and 65 degrees pretty much every single day. And there's going to be almost no cloud cover. So it's not necessarily going to be hot, but it's going to be a ton of sun. The greens are going to be allowed to bake out. And I'm thinking we're going to see a very firm and fast affair. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, like you said, this is an easy course, but you can't underestimate the greens for sure. So you got to make sure you're getting your shot distance is correct and not
Yep.
overshooting or undershooting. So.
Oh yeah, if you're short signing yourself on these greens, good luck.
Yeah.
Cool.
Make sure to
So
keep your iron straight.
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's why we've seen guys like Kevin Na win in the past, more of like those iron
Yeah.
specialists. Just because they are so firm and fast, you're going to get a little bit of extra rollout this week. So guys like Kevin Na that hit it about just as far as I do, right around 280 yards, they end up hitting it a lot farther this week. So good for them. Makes
Yeah.
me want to go out to Vegas and play some golf because it makes shorter guys like me, I only hit it like 280, look a lot better than me are. Let's just say that. Let's talk about a few other specifics. The bunkering, there's an extra 0.7 bunkers per hole here. I mean, you compare it to the PGA Tour average. So you're going to see usually that manifests itself as an extra fairway bunker. That's what TPC Summerlin's kind of known for with Bobby Weed. He went out there, he added a lot of extra bunkers at that 300 to 330 yard range. So making sure you're accurate off the tee might be a little bit of a sneaky type of proposition. Just because of that extra bunkering. We do have a slope rating of 137, which is actually one of the higher ratings on tour. So we're not used to seeing that, especially at a birdie fest. So I think kind of like you were saying before, these greens are a lot harder than what they seem.
Yep.
Cool.
And
So
for the putters, if you're good at putting, this is going to be a great tournament for you. This is where you get the birdies. So.
oh yeah, dude. So you're getting right into this. This is a great transition. So talking about the skill set for success. Yeah, number one for our key stats this week, we have shots gained putting. So kind of like what you were saying, it's currently ranked number 15 out of 70 on tour. And a lot of that has to do with scoring, right? If we're going to go to 23, 24 under par, you're going to have to drop some putts, right? We can't be stuffing it close and missing them. So definitely agree with you there. So in terms of my correlation modeling, just want to mention to any of the new viewers here what I'm talking about there. So with correlation modeling, what I do is I'll take a look at the finishing position at a golf tournament for over the years, and I'll take a look at how each player statistically correlates to success. So if there's a golf tournament where guys that putt the ball better end up finishing better, you're going to see that in the correlation ranking. If there's a golf course that's a lot longer, like 7,700, 7,800 yards, that kind of thing, you're going to see distance start to be a correlating stat. So we do this for every golf course on tour. And then at the end, what we do is we create a ranking system comparing them to each other. So you can see shots gained putting is number 15 out of 70 on tour, making it one of the most important. So there's only 14 other courses that they play year in and year out on the PGA Tour where we can say it's more important. So again, I think you were completely spot on there, Isaiah. Are there any specific putters that you like this week?
I like JT as a putter, but his finishing is like throughout the week can improve. I like Dylan Fratelli's putting as well.
Yep.
That's actually, we'll talk about him later. I have him as one of my picks.
Yeah, he's playing this week, right?
Yeah,
he's at the Sanderson Farms, I believe, as well. So he's in the top 30 right now, I believe. I saw it just yesterday. So I think that's a great pick. Yeah, we'll get to that here in a second, but good job there. So at number 2, I want to talk about another one of our key stats. At number 2, we have birdie or better percentage. That is ranking number 19 out of 70 on tour. So it goes hand in hand with shots gained putting. So you have to be able to roll the rock. You have to be able to make your fair share of putts. You're not going to be able to get to 20, even 25 under par, but let alone make the cut here. The cut here is typically 5, even 6 under par. Last year, we saw it at 6 under par, which was actually a PGA Tour record. We haven't seen that for quite some time. So gonna have to definitely make your fair share of birdies. And finally, our last stat there was shots gained approach, which you can see it's actually not popping in the correlation modeling. It's only 47 out of 70th on tour. But Isaiah, if there's anything we know about golf, and yeah, I know you mentioned this before, you have to be able to control your distances. You have to be able to hit these greens, especially at a place like this with elevated surfaces, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm. And the score projections around 22 under to 24 under. So like you said, Luke, you got to make sure you make the cut, and it's got to be around 6 to 7 under for sure. So
so if there's guys that are a little bit of par specialists, we're probably going to be avoiding them this week. Guys that come to mind like that, I mean, people like Luke List just make a ton of pars. A lot of that is due to their putting. People like Sergio Garcia, even, they'll par a golf course to death. Adam Scott, those type of players. While they would be good at like a U.S. Open or, even a Masters, that kind of thing, here at the Shriners, pars aren't going to get you anywhere. So definitely agree with you there, man. And are you thinking like 24 under par for a winner, or are you thinking closer to like 22, 21, or which end of the spectrum are you on there?
I'm going with the higher spectrum, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I like
I
it.
think there's a lot of good putters in this group here, and you know, each year I think it starts to get higher. So I'm gonna go with 24 under as the projection here. What about you?
I'm completely in lockstep with you there, especially with all these Corn Ferry Tour kids. Like
Yeah,
one of them's going to go out there and post something low. So definitely going to be looking out for that. Speaking of things we're looking out for, though, let's talk about a few of our picks for next week because we just ended up getting the field published. We know who ended up accepting their invitations into the field. So I'll kick it off with one of my picks. Then I'm going to, give you the mic over
good.
on the other end for one of yours. So first up for me, I have Viktor Hovland. So he's a top 10 ball striker. So I love the fact that he's going to be able to score, put himself in plenty of opportunities. Has also seen that with his birdie or better percentage. So he's capitalized on those birdie opportunities, is a top 20 player in the world, not just this field in birdie or better percentage. So I love seeing that from Viktor Hovland. Definitely needs to make some putts. He's somebody who can struggle with that from time to time, but I definitely like Hovland this week.
Yeah, and speaking on Hovland being in the Ryder Cup this year, he probably had he probably had one of the best experiences of his life, and I think it's gonna help him out with all the like veterans that he was paired up with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he probably learned a ton. Like I can only imagine that's a once in a lifetime opportunity for sure. Who do you have as one of your players that you're looking out for this week?
I have Matthew Wolff,
Okay.
top 10 driver distance. And I think that'll really help because, like I was talking about with the elevation, he can really drive it and get it far in the fairway and have an easy iron shot on the green, maybe even a chip shot. So,
Nice. Yeah, and I think there's a few drivable par fours if I remember correctly. I mean, we haven't
yeah,
seen the course in a year, so it's kind of a little bit
yeah.
fuzzy to me. But if I remember correctly, Summerlin has 3 or 4 drivable holes that Wolff will be able to get to. I'm not sure about everyone else though.
I mean, we know Bryson can, but
He's not. I don't think he's here though, right?
yeah, he's not here. But if he was,
Dang,
he'd be
yeah, he
seeing
was
a
here
lot.
in 2020, so unfortunate to not see him coming, but he was doing
Yeah,
that long drive competition and stuff. So
yeah,
I guess has more important things. How did
yeah.
you see that, by the way? Speaking of Bryson, have you watched any of that?
I've seen like all the like pros like posting it on their story, but I really haven't seen it. Have you?
Yeah, so they've been posting it on YouTube. They've been having them live. I haven't been able to catch them live, but I've watched the compilations and highlight videos afterwards, and he holds his own. He actually ended up beating Martin. His last name starts with a B. He's from Germany. He's the
Mm.
number one world champ guy in the world. He ended up beating him in a
Oh
set,
wow.
and Kyle Berkshire, who's like the number 2 guy in the world. So he's actually able to beat those guys, and it wasn't even like he was hitting into the wind. It was like in straight up normal conditions. So yeah, he's doing a lot of things for the sport. So I definitely like to see that. Another guy I really like this week would be Louis Oosthuizen, who I know you've actually met before. So one of the best
Oh yeah.
guys on tour, one of the best players on tour, in my opinion, as well. He's a top 10 putter in the world, not even just in this field. He's also a top 25 approach player in the world. So going to stuff himself close, and obviously makes a ton of putts. We want to go ahead and let everyone know where you met Louis, because that was such a cool experience to hear about when you let me know about that.
Yeah, so I was at the 3M and I think it was the day before, and you know
Mm-hmm.
how they have those the rental cars they have.
Yep.
We parked
The
at like a
courtesy
farm.
cars or whatever.
Yep, and we were parked, and I pulled up and we were right next to a 3M open car, and I was like, that looks like Louis. So I waited in the car and I waved over to him, and I think he knew I knew who he was. So he got out of his car and we talked for a bit. So
That's awesome. So
yeah,
he was in his car, like driving, and was like, "Hey,
yeah.
pull over."
No, we were in the parking lot.
In the parking
Uh,
lot. Okay, that's still awesome. That's really
I know.
cool.
I didn't. I was like so nervous because I was like, if it's not him, I kind of feel embarrassed.
If you're like, "Hey,
Uh,
Louis," and it is
yeah,
someone else.
yeah. But he's a
Yeah,
great guy. We talked for a bit, and yeah, that's a good pick. As long as he can finish this week, it'll be good.
absolutely. I mean, we have seen him choke a few times. Speaking of not finishing there at the Open Championship, that one stung a little bit for me, but
Hmm.
I think this is a good spot for him. Can kind of
Yep.
relax a little bit in Las Vegas. It's a little bit more of a laid back place as long as you're not on the strip or anything like that. So I like Louis a lot this week.
Yeah.
Who's your other pick for this week?
I got Dylan Fratelli, like I said before. I was going to mention him. top 30 in the Sanderson farms right now.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, right now, it hasn't started yet for the last round, but he's a great putter, and that's what you need to get high scores here. So
Definitely, I definitely agree with that pick. He's somebody who gets a little bit overlooked as well. I think because he's a little bit
mhm,
streaky. He'll go
yeah,
on like 4 or 5 missed cuts in a row. But if we take a look at his recent form, and like you said, top 30 at the Sanderson Farms right now, he's putting the ball great. Made the cut his last time out. I think you're spot on with that pick. He definitely will be cheaper in fantasy formats. He'll also be one of the
yeah,
better betting picks this week. He's probably going to be close to like 100 to 1 or something like that. I absolutely love that pick, man.
yeah. So I think that'll be it for the players to look out for.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. Let's go ahead and talk about our social medias again. So what was your Instagram page? And let's go ahead and talk about your YouTube.
so Nokkensportsnews for both of them. We post our interviews on our YouTube and Instagram. Our recent one, Aaron Fleener, JT Poston's caddy. Also,
By
we
the
got
way,
one
if you haven't seen that yet, guys, go ahead and check that out like right now. The one that he has with JT Poston is one of the coolest interviews I've ever seen. But especially when he talked to Aaron Fleener, it's kind of able to get the insight from the other side of it, not from the player perspective. That is really cool. So definitely recommend that. And you said it was Knockin' Sports News for both of those, right?
Yep.
Cool.
We got the orange logo and the black lettering. So it's
It stands
NSN.
out. I love that.
Yep. You want to talk about yours?
Yeah, sure. So I do a primary portion of my work on YouTube. So that is GS Luke DFS. There's a space between GS Luke and the DFS. On there, I post a lot of information for golf. I'll do like course breakdowns. I'll do things with picks in terms of value picks, core plays, that kind of thing. I do NBA stuff. So that'll be coming out in the next few weeks. We'll be back on NBA. I post for all the NFL stuff. So all the showdown slates, main slates,
Yep.
pretty much something for everyone out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you guys gotta check out his golf stuff for sure, because I've looked all over YouTube for good like predictions and stuff, and it's hard to find, but you've got the best stuff out there. So
I appreciate that, man. And
yeah,
your page is one of my favorite follows on Instagram for sure.
thank
So
you.
I appreciate everyone for coming by, listening to the podcast. Hopefully this week at the Shriners ends up being an exciting one. I think it will be
Mm-hmm.
because we have so many of the top players in the world. But
Yeah,
until next time, thank you guys for stopping by and have a good one.
yep. All right, see you guys.